everybody. Welcome back to the Burnout Brighter podcast, where we are doing the last episode of the Black History Month series. But we have a little special guest, which is Sway, and we're going to get to him in just a second. But I'd like to thank everybody for sticking with us for so long. This has been such an incredible journey. As you guys know, we did a Black History Month series with Yuki and Raise the Game for the United Kingdom back in October. And now we're doing it for Canada and the US because we celebrate it in February. One of the first guests that I want to welcome back is Evan. Evan is producer at Interrobang. Evan, thank you for coming on with us today for our roundtable. Is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners?
No, just it's glad to be here and happy to be a part of this roundtable.
Thank you. It almost sounded like The Fifth Element. I swear to God, I thought you were just going to go, yeah. Or like, you know, when he asked him. All right. And our next guest, who has also been on for a couple of episodes, he was a special guest for our 100th episode special, is Justin. He is the CEO of Interrobang. He's also co-founder of Black Voices in Gaming, the Guerrilla Collective, and The Mix. Justin, is there anything I messed that up the first time, guys? You don't know that, but
I love how you said, and I want a first intro, Evan Washington, and like totally,
I had it in my mind to introduce you first, but then when I messed up, I was like, no, let me just go ahead and introduce.
No, that's all good. No, thank you for having me. This is going to be great.
Thanks for coming on. And that was it. Okay. Thanks for coming on. And also, before I forget, let me introduce my lovely co-host, Matt.
I made it. I made the role this time. Thank you, Destiny. I'm happy to be here. I would just like to take a moment and say I just want to thank everyone who got us here, and I'm just so thankful.
Okay, and I would like to introduce Sway. Sway is absolutely amazing. Oh my God, I'm so excited that you're on the show. You have some of the dopest art I have ever seen. I brag about it. I showed Justin, I showed Evan. Like, we're all a little jealous because we all went to art school, but I mean, you're killing it out there. It's great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I definitely have your Imagine FX cover.
Oh, which one?
He did a cover for Imagine FX, I think.
Oh, yes, I did actually. Yes.
It was Harley, I think, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's
very
super
dope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know on Twitter, I think you posted a picture of your mom's wall, and she has like all of your covers and stuff on the wall.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That was
That's
really
so sweet.
Yeah.
She's a big supporter, so she's like, I'm gonna frame all of the covers. I'm like, Mom, you're really gonna frame all of the stuff? She was like, yes.
They're incredible. I would too. I might do that anyways. You're not even my son. So anyways, moving on.
I would definitely frame the Miles covers because those are gorgeous, incredible. They look so good.
The Chadwick Boseman one is really, really nice too. Like, that one is beautiful. But this is the perfect segue into telling us a little bit about yourself, kind of your journey into the artist that you've become, and what inspires you to create some of the dope ass art that you create.
So basically, it all started since I was a little kid. I've always been drawing. I've always been like inspired, and my mom never knew that I was an artist at first. It was my sister who, sort of kind of realized that I was always drawing and stuff, and she knew that I had like a talent, until my mom realized like, oh wow, my son has something. And basically from there on, from elementary through high school, I've always been like in the art field and art program. So from there on, my mom has helped me through and to be able to like, push me. And also for me to also like, since I was that sort of kid who was, always at home and very introverted, I always had like a sketchbook with me. Even when I was going to school and stuff, I always had a sketchbook. And I was always drawing. I always had, a reason or like a sort of a career goal, basically, to do this as a profession. And from there on, from high school, I went to art and design, which was basically an art school, to me going to SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York, where I live. And basically from there, that being in SVA, it was an okay school, but I was able to learn some aspects since I had professors and stuff who were in the industry and everything. And from there on, um, I graduated from 2020, and from at that point during that was during COVID, and you know, I really didn't know what I was gonna do since the world was happening, and it was just like everything was just like going from downhill. And then also with the whole situation during June of 2020 with the George Floyd movement and the Black Lives Matter movement was where social media was taking a very trend about it. And there was a lot of editors and people from the art field were asking black creators, black artists that want to be in the fields. And from there on, I showed my portfolio, my work, because I felt like I was very underrated. I was trying to get myself out there, and from there on was where like I blew up. And Marvel, DM me, one of the talent agents DM me, and they were like interested in my work. And that was where I did my first cover. And then from Marvel, I went from Entertainment Weekly. And then from Entertainment Weekly, I went from DC Comics. And then from DC Comics, I went from Marvel Studios. And then from Marvel Studios, I went from doing stuff for Balmain and Z2 Comics and Imagine FX and the Avengers video game. So yeah, it's been a whole roller coaster. And it all came from the starting point from me not knowing what the hell I was gonna do to being lucky from showing my stuff. So yeah.
I think that's incredible. And I don't want you to put it all on luck, because you are
Mhm.
extremely talented. Like, if I was an editor, I would definitely pick up on your stuff because it's so beautiful and well done. And I think what I like the most is that you craft a lot of black superheroes and just black people in general. And like when
Yeah.
I go to your Instagram, that's what I see. And that's what I want to see, because we need more
Mhm.
representation. It's
Yes.
sad that the George Floyd incident is what it took for like editors and places to come out and be like, hey, maybe we should shine more light on black voices. But I guess that's kind of like the silver lining. And I would never want a tragedy like that to happen again, to where
Mhm.
that's the kind of push for it. But I am glad to see some positivity coming from it for us
Mhm.
as people of color. One of the questions I was going to jump into is it's kind of like what really inspired you. Was there a cartoon or a specific comic book or anything that really inspired you to start drawing or sketching? Or was there an artist that you were like, oh, I really want to emulate this style?
Around elementary, I first discovered Norman Rockwell, and it's funny because from that point was also I had to in elementary I had to do like a project or like an essay about him. So he was the person that was given to me, and once I saw his work, I was just like, oh, this is kind of what like I wanted to do. And then from there on, the one artist that really got me to really interest to do like cover work and stuff was Adam Hughes. And I remember seeing his work in Wicked magazine. I think that's what it's called. Wizard
Oh,
magazine. Um, and I
bet.
just saw his like small Wonder Woman piece, and I was just like, oh, this looks really interesting. And then from there on, I just Google searched him, and when I saw his work, I was just like, oh, this is the stuff that I really want to like emulate and stuff. And from there on, I emulated his work, and also other work from Terry Dodson, who is also my mentor and also friend. And he was also someone who influenced me, and basically those artists, and also just movies, video games. One of the like video games that like constantly play all the time and always try to like emulate in my work and sort of the confidence and stuff was Bayonetta. I don't know if you guys ever played that
Yeah.
Oh,
game.
for sure. For
Bayonetta,
sure.
Wait,
like one of
can
my
I
favorite
ask a
games.
question real quick?
Yes,
How old are you? I'm just curious.
23.
Okay, because your references are it's very interesting. I'm 40, so like I'm trying to get because have you heard of the Bayonetta? That's like Evan and mine's kind of jam, I guess,
Yeah.
because like so that's dope. That's dope.
But yeah, Bayonetta has been like one of my top favorite games, and then also there's like Resident Evils and stuff that also influenced me and stuff. So a lot of pop culture really has, gave me sort of the influence for me to bring it to my work. So yeah.
That's dope. And I mean, like, that's such a variety that you have there. And I feel like everything has cultivated into a really beautiful style that you have. And it's very, God, what's the word I want to say? Not just beautiful, but like some of your stuff is very breathtaking. Like just
Thank
looking at it, and I'm just like, whoa, right? Like I didn't expect to see things like that. Because when I was growing up, like
you.
what comic book covers looked like before. Like this looks like works of art. And I mean, like comic book covers before were works of art too, but like
Mhm.
the amount of detail that you put into each piece, it reminds me of painting. So when you said like Norman Rockwell, I was like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I can
Mhm.
see that. And it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
But
you
before we
go
get,
if like
oh,
oh
sorry,
I'm
Justin. No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I don't know if we're supposed to talk
Justin,
or
jump
what's
yeah,
going on.
jump in. It's a round table. Jump
I
in.
don't know. Like okay.
Like cut me off, cut me off. Go ahead.
I wasn't trying to cut you off. I just wanted
Uh
to know a little bit more. Like that's why I was asking your age and like you live in New
Mhm.
York. Where did
Mhm.
you grow up? I'm just curious. Where did you grow up?
Brooklyn. I'm
Oh,
still
okay.
living in Brooklyn. Still living with my mom still. So, and also Brooklyn has sort of influenced my work too. The people that I talk to and stuff, and the people that I, grew up with, and always, look over to and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So before Justin said that, and that's not me to call you out, I was going to ask you
Mhm.
guys if you had questions to ask him before we jumped into the next segment. So, Evan, did you want to ask him anything?
Yeah, sure. So, of all the characters that you, because I was looking at your Instagram earlier,
Mhm.
of all the characters that you've drawn, who's kind of like your favorite subject to draw?
Elaborate a little bit.
So, like, do you have like a favorite character like that you like to draw?
Oh, um, you know what? Right now, it's been honestly Nubia. Nubia, because when I first was, because actually, to tell you a story, I've asked to do a Nubia cover. Um, Before they even told me that they was going to do a mini series about her, because DC supposedly they wanted me to do stuff for DC Pride, and they gave me two characters, but I was just like, I wasn't too. There were two white gay characters, but I wasn't too feeling for it. So I asked them, is Nubina like in there and stuff? And they was just like, you know, we're actually doing like a mini series about her and stuff, and let's bring you. Let me bring you to the one of the teams who are doing that series, and from there on, that's where I've really got to do the variant cover and also doing the other second variant cover for her. So I really enjoyed drawing her. I really enjoy the fact to be able to, you know, showcase like a black woman, a black, strong, powerful woman, and someone who is just not just Wonder Woman, but someone who's like part of the Amazonian universe. So,
Mhm.
and for me, she's always been like the back burner in so many of like the comics and stuff. So I'm really happy that they're showing case in her, in today's generation and stuff. So I really enjoyed, really joined her and stuff. And whenever they, ask me to do another variant cover, a main cover, I always want to do one because I know I want to do something very iconic for her. So yes.
Oh my
That's
God.
For sure.
that's so interesting, Evan, because actually the question that I wanted to ask, I'm glad that you
Mhm.
focused on things he's done so far, because what I was curious about is like, are there any characters that you haven't got a chance to work on yet that's like the dream, or characters that you would love to work on in the future, whether it's from Marvel, DC, Independent, or anything else? But is there anyone that you're like, I would love to draw this character?
Um. Right. Well, because I saw the Batman movie. right now I'm really want to draw Catwoman.
Yeah, I knew
I've
that's
Nice.
it.
I've I've
Yes.
been a Catwoman stan since middle school. I've been reading her comics and stuff, and I've always been drawing her as a kid. So for me, that's like one of the characters that I hope they ask me to do. But other than that, that's really it. I also, for me, I want to not just only just do comics, but based on my fields to doing stuff for like character design and stuff. But definitely, I would say the one major character that I hope to look forward to get to draw is Catwoman. So yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Actually, maybe to piggyback off that, um, one of the cooler things that I think have happened in the last few years
Hmm.
is Saint Chase, another artist, had the chance to redesign Miles Morales and kind
Yes.
of like, and I love it, right? I
Hmm.
love that design scheme because I feel like it makes Miles more of a his own character, not just a rip
Hmm.
off of Spider-Man. Are there any
Right.
characters that you, if given the opportunity to redesign, that you would like to redesign?
Um, I have few that I've done before. Hopefully, Marvel will like look and see, like, give me the chance to do. But I've always wanted to do like redesigns of. I think for one, I would like to do a redesign of like Scarlet Witch, or I guess Monica Rambeau, or Magic. Magic,
Oh,
that's what you call, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely, because for me, as someone who's like very influenced with fashion and stuff, that I always like to give like a different depiction of them in a more modern or grounded way, but also more avant-garde kind of feeling. So yeah.
Mm. My question was going to be looking towards the future after
Hmm.
doing all of this work and working with Marvel and DC, which is absolutely amazing. The things that you've
Hmm.
accomplished at the age of 23, like, I have to give you your props because it's wild. But
Thank
what
you.
do you want to do in the future? Like, I know you mentioned possibly work on character design. Are you
Hmm.
interested in creating your own comic and your own characters?
It's funny because I've been thinking about it, but I'm very hesitant because for me, um, one of the reasons why I geared towards doing cover work was when I was at SVA, I was doing a lot of comic interiors, so that really burnt me out. And also, I did have like a story that I really wanted to do. I really wanted to do a sort of like horror esque kind of like Silent Hill kind of story, but for after doing the interiors and also just the hard work that is put into it, and for me who always put a lot of details in my work, that I just realized, what, I just rather just do cover work, and
Mm.
from there on hopefully to do more character designs, which I did for the Marvel Studios and stuff. So, but I would say hopefully maybe in the future I'll do my own comic, but I really want to gear towards just doing stuff for more the industry, for like TV shows or movies. So yeah.
That's good because I think it's helping you build a name for yourself.
Right.
So to piggyback off of that, because it
Mhm.
does seem like you're inspired and you have some stories. Is there anybody who you might possibly collaborate, or somebody that you would really want to collaborate with on maybe bringing that to life, like your story and your characters?
For right now, since one writer that I really well known and kind of since doing the Nubina series, is Stephanie Williams. So
Okay.
that's someone that I definitely would like to collaborate in terms of like writing with her and stuff. Um, but yeah, that's someone in the future that I'll hopefully will ask about. But I know for right now, I just rather just continue on just building up my name and stuff. So.
Well, you're doing an amazing job. So I am going to jump into the next segment, which is kind of like it's more kind of an introduction and more about Black History Month and what we're doing to contribute to Black History Month and Black culture in general. And I'm going to ask everybody a different question. My first question will be for Justin. So, with being the CEO of Interrobang, which is a really diverse gaming company. I mean, I've worked with you before there, and I mean, just the talent that you've pulled come from all sorts of places, and it's incredible to get to know these people. But also, you've put together Black Voices in Gaming, which has been monumental. And I think you're also on the board for Humble Bumble. My words are all mixed up.
It's all
But
good.
I, I just wanted to
Hubba
ask
bubba.
you, hubba bubba bubba. I just wanted to ask you. I mean, like, I know what inspires you to do these sorts of things. You being like a Black male growing up in America, but how do you see the future spaces expanding? Do you see them expanding more so past just Black History Month? Because as we've always said, we need to celebrate that 365 days a year. And I love that Black Voices in Gaming is not just happening in Black History Month, but you've spread it out throughout the year. What else would you like to do for Black Voices in Gaming and just in general?
Yeah, there's a couple questions in there. I'm just trying to
Answer the
figure out.
last one. Sorry, the last. What do you want? I was trying to explain like what I've seen that you've done and the causes that you basically kind of cultivated in the culture, which is Black Voices in Gaming, and also having a really diverse team and a Terabang. So like moving forward, what would you like to do to help continue that growth?
I mean, I think it's very important that there's representation all year round. I mean, Black History Month for me is 365. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
black, so I can't escape that the realism of it. So, I mean, I would say I would and to contribute, we're still grinding with Interrobang. It's been like 11 years. If it wasn't for Evan being there the whole time, it wouldn't take place, right? Like, and I think it is just like the magnitude of hustle it takes to get things moving, especially as a black person, without folks that have your back is tough. So, just for instance, Evan and I, like, and you were there, like, a lot of these meetings, like, we started in my freaking apartment making, like, while we were in school, like, doing internships at PlayStation and all of this other, and like, doing testing and all of this stuff, and people taking off their damn socks and feet stinking and shit in my apartment. You know what I mean? Like dealing with all this stuff. I mean, it was a fun time though, but we were younger. But like it was a grind. Like we didn't have any cash. We didn't have any like examples to follow for like as an independent studio. We were trying to figure out how to raise capital. Had to figure that out on my own. Then we like went to San Francisco, drove up just with our stuff in our car. Like we're traveling around till we found an apartment, and then we were working 13, 14-hour days out of IGN, hustling, right? Now, like let's say 5 years into it, I got to deal with Adult Swim Games for us. Like we got investment, like we're traveling around, and we're doing interviews, and we're pitching to Capcom, Sega, Ubisoft, all of these folks. Now this is 10 years later, like 12 years later or whatever it is, 10 years since I moved to the Bay Area. And now I have like a position in the industry that's pretty freaking rock solid, that now capital is easy for me, right? Like, and but it's not easy for a lot of black folks who don't have those connections. So
Right.
I think what is like extremely important is that, like when you get bigger and you're blowing up, it's like I'm at a point now, like it's time for me to put the ladder. Let's put the ladder down. Like help my team, build my team, set an example, but then also lift up the other people, because now I have like means to get funds. So for like the humble bundle, Black Game Developer Fund, like that,
My bad.
like we have $1 million, right? Like when we were starting, we had we had nothing, right? Like, so now that I can help parse out 50K per project and then introduce them to PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, IGN, different Raw, Fury, Tiny Build, all these different publishers, and I have the direct communication with them, it's time to make that happen. Because anytime you pay it forward, it always comes back. Not that I'm doing it to pay for it to pay back, to get paid back to me or to us, but it just makes the world a better place, right? Because then they support us, they support each other, and then when they're big now, like they're just gonna pull everyone else up because they saw the example that was made from our team or from these other places that actually cared.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was a great answer. I knew at first you were like, I don't know, but that was really good. Thank you. So Evan, I'm gonna push it over to you. Are you ready?
I think so. I don't know about
Because your
after
face
that.
looks like you're not ready. So my
after
question
that
was going to
award-winning
be,
answer, I'm not too sure,
it
but sure, I'll
was
give
like
it a try.
Academy.
Yeah, I'm happy it's not me.
Yeah.
But my question basically for you is, as a producer at Interrobang, you and Justin have come such a long way, and I just want to give you guys your props. You have broke so many barriers. Like, people look up to you so much, and I know I have to tell you that a lot. Like, you're doing amazing. People are looking up to you because I feel like you don't get it enough, but you are doing amazing work. And to start from nothing and be where you guys are now is wild, because I remember sitting in some of those meetings and like that was the dream, like to get to that point. It was such a fervent dream for you, Justin, and a couple of others. Like, to see you where you are now makes me kind of emotional. I'm not gonna cry though, but it makes me emotional because it's like you did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're out there and you're doing big things. Like, when I talked to Justin, he's like, yeah, no, I talked to PlayStation. I'm like, damn, son, you really did it. And there's so many people who didn't. Do you know what I'm saying? So many people who came up beside us who didn't. So my question to you is, how do you continue that drive with the people on your team, the people who work with you? Because it does take a lot of drive. It does take a lot of hustle, and you've been there from the beginning. So how have you helped to support that kind and cultivate that culture within Interrobang?
I think what's important in any team is just make sure that everybody has a voice, and they don't feel as if they're just like a worker. You know what I mean? Like they have a they have a contributing factor that, like, matters to the team. You know, because I think I've been in the industry outside of just working with Justin and Interrobang. I've been in the game industry maybe 10 plus years, on and off. And while I've loved it, there are definitely times where I felt like I had an opinion and I wasn't able to express that opinion and feel like I was actually part of the creative process, right? Because I'm working under someone. If they want a character to be a redhead, that character is going to be a redhead. You know what I mean? If this game is going to take place in this time period, that's the time period that it's going to take place in. My voice on that matter is very small. So I think in these kind of situations where, me and Justin started this from the ground up, and we have the ability to bring on new talent and meet all these different creatives. At least for me, it's important to hear their voice, get their opinions, let them give all the feedback they want, and then actually take that into account into the things that we're making and the things that we're doing, whether it's on a story process, an animation process, social media process, just whatever it is. Just give everybody kind of the creative outlet that they want, that makes them want to grow. Because then if they don't have it, it's just gonna it's suffocating as a creative, right? Like, you guys understand, like,
No,
it
yeah,
kills you. So
absolutely.
I want to make sure that since we were given this opportunity to kind of to be as creative as we want, that we're at least giving that back to the people that work with us. So that's kind of how I look at it.
And I think that's great. I think one of the things that you guys do try to do is you have a lot of meetings and you check in with the people who are working with you and ask you, no, I'm
We do have
serious.
a
Like,
lot of
that's
meetings.
important. You have a lot of meetings. And I think that's important because I've worked for people who I have to pass it off to, like, Bill, and then Bill passes it off to someone else. And I never get to talk to the actual person. And I think that's good because even though, Justin, you're really busy, you have a lot of things going on, you make time to be at those meetings,
Well, I
and you're
think,
there to listen.
yeah, just to add to that, I think that that's why it's so important that everyone can self-direct, and has input, because I don't like, Evan, me, Chris, like we started it right initially, but at the same time, we don't want a dictatorship.
Right.
We want there needs to be a solidified direction for where we're going with the game and stuff, but everyone needs to put their personality into it. And then like having self-governed teams and people to put like their input in is important, and that's where that communication is paramount. Plus,
Absolutely.
Like one of the things actually that like sorry. One of the things that
dumb.
I,
Go ahead.
one of the things that I'm like kind of super proud of with our team that I think is super interesting is there are people on our team that I have never met like in real life, and even a few that for like a long time I never even knew what they looked like outside of a Discord avatar, that now I would consider like really good friends of mine, even though I've only met them once, or I've only seen, we've only chatted, right?
Yeah,
Like
so true.
it's super interesting, and like I said, I think that just I attribute that to, like I said, just making sure that we're like an actual team and that no one feels left out like in anything. So yeah.
We're definitely a family.
Yeah,
To
I was
add
gonna
to that,
say we
yeah.
definitely have a family vibe. Like I left the family and came back. You know what I mean? So and like welcomed with open arms and stuff. But
Even the
no, I,
contract, even like the people that were contracting, like Angry Metal, who was doing all of our animation, and they're in Madrid. Like they're our family. They're hilarious, and we all have the same sense of humor. Like Evan's directing the whole animation team pretty much, and like, yeah, it's cool.
I love that. And that's because the people at the top are cultivating that kind of relationship between their workers, and I think one of the best things is like working for Interrobang, you don't feel like you're just a cog in the wheel. Do you know what I mean? Like you feel like you're actually a part of everything that's going on. And I think it's gotten much better, like from when you first started and like learning the way of business and learning how to communicate and build a team. Like you guys have really, I would say, inspired me. So I feel like when I came into Burnout Brighter, that's a lot of what I took with me, and that's it feels like a family with us. You know what I mean? So I'm always happy to work with people who show mutual respect to each other and let all of the voices be heard, because I think that's really important in a creative environment. Otherwise, you can't create. So my last question is for Matt, and it's not about Interrobang or anything like that. It's about
I'm glad. I was gonna be like, yes, working at Interrobang.
we have worked on some projects with just
Yeah.
to know. But what I want to know is when we first started Burnout Brighter, our main focus was mental health and gaming. And I know I kind of wanted to bring social justice to our podcast, and you and Darren were absolutely, open to it and using our platform for that. And over the years after the George Floyd incident, we had a very special podcast about that, and working with Yuki and Raise the Game over in the United Kingdom for our Black History Month series. And now, as we're rounding up and finishing this one, do you feel that you've learned a lot more about social justice, and what have you taken away from this experience?
Yeah, like you mentioned, like when I first thought about what burnout could and would be, it was always like mental health and gaming for me, and like it just kind of naturally evolved. And like I've told you many times, like when Darren and I were first talking about it, it was like, we should start this. We should start this. And we never did anything about it. There was always felt like there was something missing. And then when I met you, everything kind of clicked. And I was like, all right, here we go. This is the direction that we're heading in. And as we kind of, grew together and we figured each other out and we learned about what we like to talk about, social justice was such a natural fit for us that like I loved having the opportunity to learn, because that's the biggest thing. You don't learn about a lot of the conversations that we've had in school. At least I didn't growing up. And it's, it came from a place also of just ignorance, right? Like you never learn if you're not presented the opportunity to. And a lot of people won't take the time to go out there to learn, right? So having these conversations with you, having these incredible conversations with LV1, doing the Raise the Game Yuki initiative back in October, I got to learn so much more than I ever had before. And like, I still have Baron's voice in my head talking about Dr. Cyan Proctor, right? Listening back to the episode with Fame in Dallas that I missed, hearing, Fame talk about Ruby Bridges, hearing Dallas talk about how Mr. Midas and talk about how, Hip Hop Gamer and how they've influenced him. And it's like, these are people that I just never would have really come across if I hadn't had the opportunity to learn. So I feel like I have grown. I feel like I have learned. And even just understanding what you've been through, Destiny, you growing up, and how the way where you're at now and how you got here has just deepened my appreciation for you as a person, and for having this opportunity to just grow. And I just want people to take that away from that, because even I still have that voice in the back of my head sometimes, where it's like, when you said let's do a roundtable, I just see it in the back of my head. I'm like, should I be there? Like, is it, should I be part of this conversation? And it's not that I don't want to be, but I'm like, how do I contribute to this? But again, after talking and learning about how much more that we as white people, and especially as a white cis male, should be doing to continue to have these conversations, and to to throw it in people's faces sometimes, and being like, I don't care if you don't want to listen to it, you need to. So I'm glad that I've had that opportunity, and I value it so very much. And I am excited to keep doing series like this with you in the future, and to keep learning, and to have these conversations in perpetuity, because this is something that will never change about burnout. We will continue having hard, difficult, and sometimes uncomfortable conversations, because we need to, because it's important. And if people don't want to mess with us because of that, then there's a door. So I'm so grateful to you, Destiny, and to all of you for taking the time to talk with us, and for just this entire road, because it changed me as a person, and I'm very happy for it.
Aww. It's funny because I know you have that voice in the back of your head. I absolutely never have that voice about you. Like, whenever I'm like, oh, we're going to bring on this person and highlight this person for Black History Month, I automatically assume that you are going to be there, because you have been so open about it, and you have been so okay with using our platform to help uplift Black voices. And I know that's the whole reason why I got into animation, because even though me and Justin and Evan went to the same school, I was doing a completely different degree. And it was because I didn't see enough Black little girls or Black women that I could look up to in movies and things like that. And then I came to realize that my favorite characters were the ones who looked the closest to me. So it was like Jasmine from Aladdin, and like Mulan. And it was because there wasn't a Tiana at the time. Do you know what I'm saying? There just wasn't enough of us. But now we're at the point where we are creating our own stories. And that's what I think is incredible. I cannot wait to see what Interrobang works on next, because I am ready for you guys to like push it for the culture. And I know that you will. Like, I'm so excited to see what you come out with next, because you're so, what's the word I want to say? You're not only that you're diverse, but like, Justin, you are making moves to work with people in the industry and to bring up Black people. And I think we need to do that more often just in our society, because there's so much gatekeeping. And what I also want to say, I'm super, super proud of where we all are today and where we continue to go. Sway, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Sway, I think it's so incredible that at the age of 23, you have accomplished what you've accomplished. And I hope you continue to grow. I know you will. And I cannot wait to see the things that you do in the future, so like I can show other people and talk about it. And Justin, I'm excited to continue working with you. And Evan, always happy to work with you. So the last question I kind of had was, what does Black History Month mean to you? And anybody can kind of chime in. And I know we've kind of talked about it, like Black history and Black voices should be celebrated 365 days a year. But I know for myself, when I was very young, growing up in a predominantly white state, 98% white city, the only people we really talked about were Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X. Malcolm X was very brief. He was probably about 2 sentences. And
He's a
Frederick
gangster, that's
Douglass.
why.
Yeah. I actually wore a Malcolm X shirt to school once, because it was like my dad's, and I like wearing big shirts. And I actually got told that if I didn't remove it, that I'd get sent home. And it literally just had his face and his name. So growing up in that kind of like community in that kind of city. I don't think I really experienced a lot of Black love until I moved to San Diego and I met Evan and James and Justin, and I could just be myself, my authentic self. So I guess what I want to know is, moving forward, what does Black History Month mean to you? And anybody can pick it up.
Mine's gonna be very radical.
Go. I want to hear it. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's kind of like I appreciate it. I appreciate that there is a Black History Month because I think that so many years we need it. But I mean, to me, like I said, it's every day. Like Black History Month happened in like 2020, June of 2020, when I'm in Oakland and there's protests in Berkeley and there's civil unrest, and I'm seeing all of the hurt and fear and anger just pouring out on the streets. And then I'm on a call with the PC Gamer Show, PlayStation, 3 other European companies, and those executives didn't realize that I was on the call as a Black person, and they were saying things that weren't disparaging, but at the same time, they didn't understand how to communicate the issues that we were facing. That was Black History Month to me, because that kind of built up the fire, poured gasoline on the fire to like really make some shit happen, right? So just like February, I mean, we're we're in March now, but February, like, as Black History Month, is cute, right? It's very helpful. Like, you see, like Black history stuff on Amazon, you get a little banner or whatever, like you're forced to do that stuff. But like anytime outside of the month is where I'm like, okay, these people actually care, right? Like that's where I found out who actually cared about the cause. And in the video game industry, I found out that very rapidly. Like, I found out that Humble wasn't trying to front. Like, they had the money, they're going to put the money where their mouth is. I found out that IGN was like, we will support you. We don't care. Everything's getting pushed back because of the protests in the news. Everyone was scared that they would lose money. IGN said, no, we're going to host your Black Voice in Gaming showcase. GameSpot said, yes, we're going to host it. Twitch said, yes, we're going to host it. Raw Fury said, we're going to give you money. Kickstarter said, we're going to give you money. PlayStation said, we're going to give you money. Xbox said, we're going to give you money. But all of the other folks that are like kind of fronting for this February thing did not put their money where their mouth is, but sent out tweets, posted stuff, but did not follow through. Right. And so like you got to see what outside of that month, who your real allegiance is, and who actually wants to help, provide diversity.
Thank you. That was a great answer. And I like that you actually named off some places. So if you guys are listening, these are the companies that are supporting Black voices in gaming and just supporting the Black cause in general. And that's really important, because had you not named all of those places, I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known all of those. But now that I do, like, I'm definitely going to start tweeting about them a lot
There's
more.
real people. There's real folks that care. Like, and I think that like some people are scared. I mean, some people are scared to say anything, but also there's also very negative Nancys that are like, everybody's bad, all corporations are bad. It's not the case. There are folks that are there to support this need.
Thank you for sharing that. Evan, what about you? How do you feel about Black History Month?
I think I should have went first because I'm not going to be able to. I think how I feel about it, I think it kind of mirrors what Justin says. I think it is very helpful. I do look at it as a time for other cultures to kind of learn about us, but I think it's kind of not enough. You know what I mean? And I feel like a big part of me feels like it's just a way to kind of, I don't want to say keep us quiet, but
put a Band-Aid on it, yeah.
But keep us quiet, right? Here you go. Here's the shortest month. So I do agree
I
with,
do get upset about it, but it's the shortest month out of the year. But then when I did the history on it, I was like, okay, it was actually 2 months after the first week, because they actually only had it for a week, and then the following year or
Oh,
the year after, it started in January all the way to like the end of February. So it's
oh
got
Mm-hmm.
wow,
it kind of got cut back. Like they
that's
were like,
worse.
let's meet in the
So
middle. But yeah, I still feel
that
like
doesn't
it's
make me feel better.
garbage that it's
That
the
make me feel
shortest
better
month
about it.
though. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep it
It
in
used to just be
But
one
January.
week. Yeah.
What y'all doing?
Just
right,
give us January.
right. But yeah, I don't know. I do think one of kind of, I guess, to piggyback off what Justin was saying, I think one of kind of the most disappointing things about the protests and whatnot is I felt like for the first time on social media and maybe even across the world, um, I thought I saw there was just this amazing outpour of support from everyone to the cause. And then kind of as soon as that died down, at least in my circles and what I see on social media, it was like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you
Because
saw,
people treat it as a trend, and it's
yeah,
not. Black lives and black voices and our culture is not a trend, and it's been
yeah,
treated like that for a really long time. And
yeah,
a lot of people in the industry have said, they want our music, they want like our looks, they want everything about us but us. And
yeah,
that's seen so many times just in
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
social media, them not giving credit where credit is due. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, we're
mhm,
not going to allow you to love part of us. Do you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Or to use part of us. Like,
The,
we're probably the loudest ones who are like, nah, fuck that. And we will continue to be loud.
the one thing I will say, at least maybe the positive outcome from that situation that I did really appreciate, and I continue to kind of appreciate as time has gone on, is from that era, I guess you could say, in our lives, I had more people who were previously against kind of I don't want to say politically conservative, but just I had more people hit me up and go, you know what, Evan, I get it now. I have a better understanding of maybe what people are going through who are different from me. So I do appreciate the month for that sort of thing, and then some of the that era, that hashtag era, maybe I'll call it. But I do think it just, yeah, it needs to continue past February, and I hope at least in what we're doing and seeing what you're doing, Sway, in your art, um, we can continue that message, and then more importantly, I think inspire others to understand that they have a voice, and a place in being creative, and spreading that message.
That was a good answer. Thank you, Evan. Sway, what does Black History Month mean to you?
For me, it's a lot. I would say definitely, as you said, we're not just a trend. We're just more than that. There's so much of us that's just not, we're not only as just entertainment, we're more just also, other fields. There's so much of us who are doing professions of science and, professions of, technology. There's so much of us. It's not just only just entertainment. Um, for me, you know, coming into this, comic industry, um, I really wanted to like, bring that sort of inspiration for other black artists, other black comic artists who are interested to come to the industry and, to, speak their voices in their work. As someone who, even though I've, been so influenced by a lot of, comic artists like Adam Hughes and, Terry and stuff, it's so white dominated, and it's always been very saddening to like see there's not so much like big black artists or big black cover artists that you normally see. So for me, I want to bring that and to also welcome more other black artists who are interested to come to the field and stuff. So I think it's more definitely just for me to you know shake the table up a bit. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah.
I love it because all of you guys have been talking about reaching across the table and helping others, and that is what we need to continue to do in our community. Matt, I'm going to end it with you and ask what you feel about Black History Month, because you touched on it a little bit, but like coming in and being a white male who doesn't usually have these conversations or didn't grow up having these conversations, how do you feel about it?
I'm glad that we get to do series like this just so that we can continue having these conversations. And the thing that I love about the podcast as a whole is that we do have these conversations year round. And it's always like, even, since we started talking about this, like how Justin pointed out, it's a very clear March 1st divide line with a lot of the companies that you'll see on Twitter, a lot of the companies that you see promoting this stuff. And it's like March 1st hits, all the banners are gone, everything's over. This is the way that it is.
St. Patrick's
So
Day.
I'm so excited to continue to have these conversations year round. But it is nice to have, for us, especially with February, and now that we, also did it in October, to have multiple like focused periods to say, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what you need to listen to. And we're going to keep doing that, not just in these months, but year round. But it's nice to have a time to just put the focus on it so that, like, no matter what else is happening in the world, we can say, hey, look, these are the things that we should be celebrating and talking about. And I just hope that that falls out of just February, because it's funny, D, until you said, yeah, it's like the shortest month. I was like, oh my God, you're right. I just never thought about it. Again, I just never thought about it. So to continue to having these opportunities to learn and to continue having these conversations year round, that's what it means to me. And that's what I'm excited to keep doing with you.
Thank you. And I mean, like, we always have other Black creators and content creators and artists. We have them on through the year, and we will continue to do so. But I agree with you. Having a series dedicated to it is also important to me, and we will continue to do it, whether we're working with the UK and Yuki, whether we're doing it for ourselves in Canada. Yeah. And I'm just proud to be doing this with you. I really am. And I think it's amazing. I think you all are really incredible and amazing people. So thank you for coming on. And we're going to end this with Sway. And I know we didn't get to it last time, but I wanted to know a historical figure that you think is very important that we can kind of educate our listeners about, somebody they may not know about, that you could tell us about.
Wow. You know what? I'm gonna be very honest with you. I still feel like I'm still educating myself. Um, as someone who doesn't know so much but still learning, because as a kid who's been, has been in school and not getting much information, that honestly I'm still learning about more historical figures of more Black people that I've never, like, not just the Martin Luther Kings or Rosa Parks and stuff, just more of the many others that I have not known and stuff, because I've been so, not educated much in those stuff in school. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's important. And I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that you brought that up, because it's true. Like, we all grew up in America, all of it except for Matt. But I mean, like, as Black people, we've all grown up in America, and we just it's sad that we don't know, and we're still learning about Black people in our history who've contributed, because every day I'm learning something new. But I will end this on just a bit of history, since we did talk about Black History Month being the shortest month of the year. The reason why is because the week that they picked in February coincides with Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Frederick Douglass. So that is the reason why it was only a week in February. And then I guess they decided they didn't need January and decided to dedicate the entire thing to February. But it is because of Abraham Lincoln's birthday and Frederick Douglass's birthday being in the month of February. So that is why they continue to celebrate it for the month of February. But I want to thank you guys again for coming on and sharing all of your stories. And I want to thank our listeners for sticking with us throughout this. It's going into year 3. And we have a lot more to give you and a lot more to share. And yeah, anybody else have any closing statements they would like to say? All right, that was silence. Thank you again for coming on.
Trying to get that
Justin, I want to thank
Batman, you mean?
Right? Justin, thank you again for taking some time out to come on, because I know you weren't feeling well, so I really, really appreciate you being here. Evan, as always, it's a pleasure. And Sway, anytime you want to come back on to talk about any of your covers, any of the art that you're doing, if you just want to shout out, you are always welcome on the Burnout Brighter podcast.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, so that's going to be it for this month's special series, but you better believe we're going to be doing more. So stay safe out there and let your voices be heard. This is Burnout Brighter out. See you guys later.